pastor, but I'm teaching as God is revealing to me. But in Proverbs 8, let's take this beginning. Let's take this beginning and match it with John 1:1. In Proverbs 8, I'm trying to get there. This Bible, I do not like it. I'm going to get me another Bible. Never have liked this Bible. That is too bulky and can't get to my scriptures quick enough. But in Proverbs 8, and let me see, 8 and 22. We can start that out. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way. See, his way of creation of me, because the Son had not been created yet. He created the Son. The Son of God is now eternal. That is, he'll never have an end. But he's not as the eternal God that never had a beginning. The Son had a beginning. The Father has never had a beginning. So the Son, in the beginning of his way of creation, he created the Son. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way before his works of old. And his works of old was when he began to create and separate the creative days. When he began to use the 7 days of creation, then the Son began to be a part of that. The Son then began to be a part of that creation. But here, it said, I was set up, the Son speaking now, from everlasting, from the beginning, see, the beginning, or ever the earth was, or in other words, when the earth was not formed, the earth was not established, because Jesus was given the creative work of forming the earth and establishing the 7 days of creation. But before that was darkness, and God spoke, and he established two things. He established the heaven, and the earth was void, and then he let the Son begin to work. The Son began to work. In those 42,000 years, the 6 days, 7,000 years to a creative day, the Son was working. Brother Kenny.
Yeah, so my understanding of what you're teaching, that before God performed the miracle on Mary, Jesus was already
Yes, long before Mary. Long before Mary. In fact, it was several thousands of years before Mary. Now, when there was no depths, see, it was still no boundary lines in the universe. Nothing set in order. I was brought forth. No sun, no moon. The sun was not there. The moon was not there. I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, no great gushing places of water in the heavens or the earth. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth nor the fields nor the highest part of the dust of the world. Now, This is the forming of the earth. This is this is showing that he hadn't yet formed the earth. He hadn't yet separated the waters and divided the sea and the land. That was given to the Son.
Yeah.
Now, notice he didn't say heaven here as he did in Genesis 1. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. It is when he established the heavens that we call now the heavens. He defined our galaxy. He formed our universe. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he measured then the depth of the galaxy, of the creation, and so on and so on. I can go on down through this and showing that Jesus was with the Father, but he was not with the Father in the beginning of Genesis 1 for a period of time. How long, we don't know. But in the beginning, God created, and John 1:1 said that in the beginning was the Word. Yes, in the beginning was the Word, as Proverbs 8 said, that from verse 23, from the beginning. See, from the beginning, I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So that beginning of the Word was God, it was with God, it was in God, that was the Son. And he brought that forth. He said, here he uses an expression, let me pick it back up here, I had it a while ago, when it uses the expression he brought forth. Verse 24, when there was no depths in Proverbs 8, I was brought forth. Where was he before he was brought forth? In the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The same was in the beginning with God, but he hadn't brought him forth yet.
That's right.
See, he was with God. Where was the Word in the beginning? In the beginning was the Word,
It was in God.
and the Word was with God. See, put that back on the screen, Brother David, that verse 1 John 1:1. I'll get Sister Jenny over here. Go to John 1:1. In the beginning, now get this, Brother Darrell's question here hinges around this area. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. He was with God. He had not brought forth. And the Word was God.
Yeah.
We think of it with God as on the outside, but it's inside.
He was with God. He was the Word that God had not said, Son, or whatever language God uses. He didn't beget the Son. He didn't bring the Son forth. When you don't bring something forth, it's still with you. You have it. And God spoke. And God spoke. And I'll show you where he speaks and where the Son was born. Genesis 1, going back here. And God said, verse 3 now.
Yeah.
And God said, let there be light. And there was light. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. See, the light was within the Father. God conceived the eternal plan of salvation. He conceived the eternal plan of creation first. That was the first plan God conceived in his eternal mind. He existed alone in the thick darkness, a being that No one was with him. How long? In time, we count millions of years, billions of years, eternity, no time. But suddenly, he conceived the plan of creation first. Then because he conceived the plan of creation, complete with man, the crowning jewel of creation, the only creation he gave reasoning powers to, the only creation he gave understanding to, intelligence to, a little lower than angels. Psalms 8, when I consider the heavens, the earth, the work of thy fingers, the sun, the moon, what is man? That thou art mindful of him. For thou hast created him a little lower than the angels, and crowned him with glory and honor. Now God did not have to correct himself when he created the angels, but God had to correct part of his plan of creation when he created man, because he created man with reasoning, intellect, will, sensitivities, choice, the right to choose either good or evil. So because he created man with that right, then he had to create the plan of redemption in order for him to fulfill his purpose for creating man. If he had not created man a little lower than the angels, he would have never had to create the cross, the blood, the Son to come, the sacrifice, redemption. He would have never had to create that part. That is, he would have never had to create the plan of redemption. See, one plan was because God created the other plan. And in creating that plan, he created man as the crowning jewel of that creation in his likeness. God said, he committed himself to making man different than the elephant, the bear, the tiger, the lion, the whale.
He said, let us.
Let us. Let us. He had Jesus down.
Yeah.
Now by this time, all things were being created by the Son. He turned over the creation to the Son. Let us make man. But yet the Son counseled with the Father.
Yeah.
See, the Son created everything that was created, accepting himself and the heaven. God created the heaven, the place of his and the Son's dominion. You know, if you have a child, you're going to create a house, a place to bring that child, aren't you? God gives you that intelligence. You have a place to shelter him, you have a place to keep him. All right? God is our eternal Father. So when he created his Son, he had a place for him to be with him by his side. Daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Now, okay, Sister Jenny, you got your thought? Say, so God now, and I'm letting you look into the creation, because the creation in the natural, Romans 1:20 said, for the invisible things of him. That's why, you know people in our day don't know God. They don't know the plan of God. Millions and millions of people, theologians that write these voluminous books. They wouldn't have to write a book if they go here. They would try to dissect this. They would try to understand this. They wouldn't have to write another book explaining God. God explains himself.
Yeah.
He reveals himself. See, this is the book that reveals God, not a theologian's book. You can write volumes of books, and you can't explain God. But this explains God. Because here, he said, in him was everything made that was made. And without him, not anything that was made was made. that part that God turned over to the Son, and that was everything but Genesis 1, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. But the earth was without form. All God created was a blazing, hot, molten piece of the universe called the earth. Had no form, had no life, had no oxygen level in it, had nothing called a green grass or trees, had no life on it, but the Son gave life. The Son created. But God, to create the Son, moved upon the face, and I remember William Salvador never could understand that, said, somebody asked him the question, where did God get the material to create Jesus from? And Brother Salvador said he just spoke.
It into existence.
And when he spoke, all of the condition, everything God wanted of the universe was formed in the Son's body, in the Son's creation. Anything he wanted together, any element, anything of his intelligence, his will, because when he spoke, God said, I don't think he used lips like I'm moving mine now. God spoke, he transferred. God transferred mind matter. God transferred, you and I can't even fathom the mind of God. The mind of God, we're talking about something we get lost in. A mind that can conceive the universe, can conceive creation. Einstein would have been not even a kindergarten student with God in his mind. No. See? But now, when he said Jesus or light, God saw that creation, the light. It was good. Then from there, when God divided, all God did was stand Jesus up in creation from the darkness. And Jesus was not part of the darkness of the universe, because he was created by the Father. God saw that the light was good. God saw that it was good, and he separated it from the light, from the dark. Now, that was the spiritual creation. But in the first day of creation, through the Son, what God did in his Son, God was doing by his Son. What God did in his Son, God did by his Son. The invisible things of him are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. Well, what did he make? He made a Son, even to his eternal power and Godhead, so that they're without excuse. When he, just like he separated Jesus in creation from the darkness of the universe, and saw that it was good, then his Son started forming and separating the earth and creating life and form and light and creation on the earth. And in the first day, the Son divided the light from the darkness on the earth. But there was no Son yet. How did he do that? Because he was the light. Before the Son ever came into existence, Jesus could light up the whole earth. He's that powerful. He's that great. And God saw the light. It was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. Jesus divided on the earth. He began to divide, push back the darkness of the universe. But yet there wasn't a Son. That was 4 days later. That was 28,000 years later. That was 4 days later that the sun was put there for the greater light. The moon was put there for the lesser light. But God had already separated the days. God had already separated the seas. God had already separated, Jesus had already begun to grow vegetation on the earth. How in the, let me see, the third day, how did grass come forth without the sun? You know, we think, and we know it does. If it were not for that sun, if it were not for light, you wouldn't have green grass, you wouldn't have trees, vegetation. It takes that. Photosynthesis has to work in the leaf structure. But how did it happen to be that it began to bring forth this before there was a sun and there was a moon? Because Jesus was the light. He lit up the whole
He was
earth.
the light.
He was the light. He was creating. He was shaping. He was separating the dry land from the seas.
Yeah.
He was forming the earth for man. Because the eternal plan of God was known to Jesus, and they were the only two that knew the eternal plan of creation. They were the only two that knew it. And they knew they were going to make a man on the sixth day. But they wouldn't make him till the sixth day because they knew he would need the sun. The sun